the future in a 16-team field, and then if all non-conference games don't matter, what happens to a team that only schedules non-conference games? This is a really excellent question. This is very well thought out by Tim, and I appreciate just the structure here, because when you go to a 16-team field, the way they're saying that it's going to be, where there's 4 auto bids for the SEC, 4 auto bids for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 for the highest ranked group of 6 champ, 3 at-larges. It does render those non-conference games far less important in terms of making the playoff. But because college football is a messed up sport, I actually think that helps Notre Dame, because now your Big Ten and SEC schools that might have been scared to schedule them won't be scared, because it doesn't matter if they lose to them anymore.
This is interesting because I feel like nothing's changed.
This is not the thing that makes them join a conference. Do we want to talk about the thing that'll make them?
Yeah, what's the thing?
Super League. That's it. If there's a Super League, they got to be part of it. That's it.
Yeah,
it's
but
not really a conference.
A possibility that the Super League will include them, even if they're not in, or will they have to be in the Super League?
You're gonna have to be in the Super League to be in the Super League.
Or if they make a Super League that schedules Notre Dame and they're allowed to take part in their playoff, they could still be adjacent to it.
I guess, but more likely than not, if you do a Super League, they have to be a part of it.
You're
not
saying that because
it.
the Super League is just NFL light. So if NFL light exists,
you're just in a division at that point. But as long as that doesn't happen, as long as the sport is still structured around several major conferences, everything that's been done helps Notre Dame stay independent.
Why is everybody so obsessed with this?
I don't know. I've thought about that myself. I've always wondered that. Like, it makes people so mad. Like, and you see it in the chat sometimes. Like, a Notre Dame fan will say something, and someone who doesn't like Notre Dame will say, "Just join a conference already." Like, why? Does it just bother you that they're different?
I don't know if it's different. I wonder if people think that Notre Dame is levitating above the rest of us because they refuse to be lock in arms with other teams. Like, do people think it's an implication that they're better? Like, I don't know what it is.
Well, definitely for an older generation, it does. Because, like, the older generation and, like, my parents' generations especially, Notre Dame has the NBC contract. All of their home games are on TV. Like, there was a time when you were lucky if your team was on TV twice in a year. Notre Dame was on national TV every time it played at home, and then usually when it played on the road too. So
but I think the no conference thing is kind of a continuation of the television deal, because the television deal is probably what sustained their ability to.
But it's sort of like it's gone in waves. So the reason Notre Dame's independent is because Fielding Yost got them banned from the Big Ten because he lost to them and was being a baby about it. So they just went out. They went and played Army. They went and played USC. That was out of necessity. Then they played it correctly and turned themselves into the biggest name in college football and the biggest brand in college football, and people got pissed. Because, like you said, they felt like they were levitating above them. But I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, and listeners and viewers, same thing. I feel like now there's such backlash against the Big Ten and the SEC for gobbling up so much of the sport and being so greedy.
They're like regressing back to being the hero here because they're not affiliated with one.
Right.
Yeah, Notre Dame's like PR people, I don't know if they didn't do anything, but like the Marcus Freeman, not part of the villain conferences thing, has really been like a big turnaround in Notre Dame, like general hatred. And I also don't know too, like Notre Dame was always badass, especially when we were kids. But Notre Dame, let's be honest, had a very prolonged down period. And I don't know if Notre Dame had the same fan loyalty from children that they used to, because kids tend to find teams like Miami. Like all my friends growing up were Miami fans because Miami was badass back then. And Arizona State wasn't really much when we were.
Well, and everybody else, like like it wasn't. They weren't Darth Vader, because I think when I was a kid, Notre Dame was still a Darth Vader type team. That was a team that would come kick your ass, and they had everything better than your team did. Like that, what Notre Dame didn't have that.
I just feel like it's hard to be universally hated to a extreme degree when you haven't been overly successful. I think
agree.
Success and those two things kind of go hand in hand. And I think that maybe if Notre Dame goes back to Death Star mode and last year was the first start of the resurgence, then maybe we can get back to that point. But I just don't. I feel like more general people hate Texas A&M than Notre Dame at this point.
I still think more people hate Notre Dame, but I think it's generational.
Yeah,
I think those people tend to be older.
The generation that grew up indoctrinating that hate is getting older, and the younger generation who's consuming our product, and those people are more fixated on the more recent things. And if you think about, and River sent you this chart, and I don't know if we're going to get to that or not, but the chart of how much severance money Texas A&M is paying in relation to the rest of the SEC, and it's like 3 times more than everybody else.
I just quote tweeted it with the word Jimbo and the gif of Huel from Breaking Bad laying back on the giant brick of cash.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, that's the whole athletic department. Have they been like paying a lot of money to like basketball coaches and things like that? I don't pay attention to their other sports, but
no, they lost their baseball coach and their basketball coach recently.
They didn't have to pay
Texas
them.
stole their baseball coach, and then Maryland stole their basketball coach.
Yeah, so if that's all Jimbo, then I'm sure a large chunk of it was. I just didn't know if they like had this problem across all their sports. But that's a pretty striking graph there. And like Auburn was the one that was supposedly, before Jimbo got fired, Auburn was the poster child for it. And then
Gus's buyout at Auburn is still the second largest. $20.5 million is still the second largest ever paid.
Yeah, that's just 2024. That's crazy. Alabama obviously is the lowest because
zero.
Your head coach who retired,
like Nick Saban and Nate Oates. There you go.
But I think people find Texas A&M weird, and they despise how much money they spend. I think it's a relatable thing to everybody. Like, I don't know what Notre Dame's thing is because they're Catholic and people who never went there are fans of their team. How many of the Miami fans do you think yelling at us went to Miami?
Very few of them.
Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame's unique in the sense that that their fan base is largely transient.
Well, I just think this is not what everybody thinks it is. It's not. This will not be the thing that pushes them into a conference. This will be the thing that allows them to stay independent. Coalescing into a super league will be the thing that forces them into a conference of sorts, although it won't really be like this. It won't be like them joining the ACC or the SEC. It'll just be, hey, this is the only way to be in big-time college football. So also, if that never happens, I think Notre Dame can be independent for a long time.
And if you're in the business of rooting for Notre Dame to be in a conference, this 13-year or 12-year deal they just signed with Clemson probably isn't going to, driving them in the other direction. So,
because other schools are going to feel the same way. I mean, like if the SEC, they talk about the going to 9 conference games if they get the automatic bids. They're also going to schedule Notre Dame in that situation because they would like to fill their stadium. They would like to give their TV partners good value, and they won't care because as long as they finish in the top 4 in the conference standings, they're in the playoff.
Right. But as it pertains to the actual playoff, like Notre Dame's path is the same way. You've just got to be excellent and get.
Yeah, and I think 16 helps them more than 14. Obviously, 14 where there's only one at large.
Now there's multiple.
They're going to have to be pretty good if they get that at large. If there's 3 of them, I think there's a better shot.